Hello everyone, and welcome to the weird, scary and horrible parts of humanity. Today we are looking into Olga Hepnarová, who is one of the most infamous mass murderers in the former Czechoslovakia, and also the last woman to be executed in the former Czechoslovakia. Hepnarová was born on the 30th of June 1951 in Prague, the capital of the modern-day Czech Republic, to parents of Czech descent who lived an upper-middle-class life, with her father a bank clerk and her mother a dentist. She was one of two children with an older sister. Throughout her early childhood, she lived a normal, average life in the communistic country. Gradually, however, she began to develop psychiatric problems which manifested into an inability to communicate with people and coldness, particularly towards her parents and classmates. It is widely suggested that she demonstrated Asperger's syndrome, however this was never proven. On the upper level of the autism spectrum, Asperger's syndrome is a pervasive developmental disorder in which one demonstrates restricted patterns of behaviour, activities and interests, intense preoccupation with a narrow subject, one-sided speech and physical clumsiness. At the age of 13, Hepnarová attempted suicide in 1964 by overdosing on her antidepressant medication. In the 8th grade, she rarely attended school, which culminated in her placing in a psychiatric ward. Spending a year in a psychiatric ward at a hospital in Operany, which is 90 kilometers from Prague, she finished high school in Operany. During her teenage years, she struggled to identify sexually with LGBTQIA+ rights in Czechoslovakia, neither understood or accepted. By the age of 17, she began having sex with both men and women, and would most likely today be identified as bisexual. Upon leaving school, she worked various jobs, including as a bookbinder in Prague, as well as in Czech in the Karlovy Vary region, but due to her abrasive personality, struggled to hold down a job. Eventually, she got a job as a truck driver and gradually lost contact with her family, particularly her father and sister. She then bought a cabin in the forest of Brezova Olesko in the Prague West district, 12 kilometers south of Prague, and commuted to the capital for work. Eventually, she sold her cabin and with the money bought a Trabant, an East German car produced between 1957 and 1990, which became a mainstay of Eastern Europe during the communist era. As a young adult, she began to feel extreme hatred towards her family and society, and began to hear voices in her head. From the age of 19 in 1970, Hepnarová began committing criminal acts. Her dad inherited a farm in Zabrody, a village in the Nachod district of the Hradec Králové region with a population of just 473 people. The farm included a cabin. On the evening of the 6th of August 1970, Hepnarová took a taxi from Nachod, the third largest town in the Hradec Králové region and the central area of the Nachod district, to her father's farm. On the morning of the 7th of August 1970, Hepnarová used a bottle of gasoline and set fire to the door in the living area of a homestead with her sister and two tenants, a married couple of the age of 75, asleep at the house at the time. Her motivation was to destroy the property and the farm, as it had caused monetary disputes between her parents. Hepnarová hoped that the fire would reach the hayloft and destroy the farm. However, her sister and the two tenants managed to extinguish the fire, and minimal damage occurred to the farm, with the damage equating to only 50 krona, about $6 in today's money. Hepnarová was never suspected of committing the crime and only confessed to the act 3 years later in 1973 during a therapy session. On the 11th of January 1973, Hepnarová moved into room 502 in what is now Pension Maleskieke in Prague District 6. This was a hostel for the Prague communications business and would then become a dormitory for foreign workers and then later become a guest house. It was around this time that Hepnarová decided to undertake a mass attack, believing that all people would try to hear her, and she alleged, albeit with no evidence, that she had been beaten up in the street in Prague for no reason and no one had helped her. Refusing to become an unknown victim of suicide, she decided to commit her attack as a way of going out in a blaze of glory. Originally, she planned to derail an express train or detonate explosives in a room full of people, but realised that this was too technically demanding. She then decided on a mass shooting and planned to obtain an automatic weapon and open fire on people on Wenceslas Square, one of the main squares of Prague. She enrolled in a shooting range of the Svazarm, the largest paramilitary organisation in communist Czechoslovakia. Quickly, however, she realised that obtaining an automatic weapon would be too difficult and was fearful that she would be killed immediately in the Wenceslas Square. She then decided, being a truck driver, to utilise a large vehicle in what was to become one of the first vehicle ramming attacks in the world. On the 9th of July 1973, she visited her old cabin in Olesko for one last time, and there she abandoned her Trabant car to which she was strongly attached. She then sent 2 letters to Czechoslovakian newspapers and magazines on the 10th of July 1973. One went to České Slovo, which would eventually change its name to Slovo in 1990 before ceasing publication in 1997 after 90 years. Ironically, the newspaper was based on 36 Wenceslas Square, where Hepnarová planned her initial attack. The second letter went to Mladý Svět, which was a magazine containing editorials and comics, amongst other works. The publication went out of business in 2005 after 47 years. In the letters, she explained her actions as a revenge for the hatred that she felt directed against her by her family and the world. The letters stated, "I am a loner, a destroyed woman, a woman destroyed by people. I have a choice, to kill myself or to kill others. I choose to pay back my haters. It would be too easy to leave this world as an unknown suicide victim. Society is too indifferent. Rightly so. My verdict is, I, Olga Hepnarová, the victim of your bestiality, sentence you to death." Due to delays in the Czechoslovakian postal system, the letters were not received until the 12th of July. On the same day, Hepnarová passed the driving test to demonstrate that she was able to control the specific type of truck that she wanted to rent and use in her attack, a Praga RN. Manufactured by Prague in Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, the truck was highly popular in communist Eastern Europe and was used by everyone from the Czechoslovakian army to being used as buses. Driving her Praga RN from the Defender of Peace, which is today the Milada Horakova, to Strossimaya Square, Strossimajego Náměstí in Czech, in Prague's 7th district, Hepnarová drove her truck up to a tram stop, taking into account the ground slope, which would allow her to gain speed and thereby, in her eyes, facilitate the maximum death toll. Initially, there were not enough people at the tram stop, with a tram having just arrived, so Hepnarová drove around the block and came back, by which stage more people were waiting for a tram. Hepnarová then drove her truck onto the sidewalk and into a group of 25 people waiting for the tram. Witnesses ran to help her, believing that she had lost control of the truck or there was a mechanical fault in the truck. Hepnarová blatantly told witnesses that she had intentionally rammed her truck into the crowd. 3 people died immediately as a result of her actions. A further 3 died later on the 10th of July. 2 died within a few days, both of whom were aged 60 and 79, bringing the total death toll to 8, and a further 12 were injured, 6 seriously and 6 lightly injured, but all of those injured survived. Of the 25 people at the tram stop, only 5 were not injured. During her interrogation, Hepnarová informed police that she intended to kill as many people as possible, and psychological experts found that she was fully aware of her actions. Her only regret was that her parents were not amongst the dead and that more people had been killed. Psychological analysis of Hepnarová also deemed her criminally responsible for her actions. However, the exact nature of her psychological difficulties was never determined. Speculation initially fueled that her attacks were politically motivated, however this was never substantiated. On the 6th of April 1974, Hepnarová was sentenced to death for murder by the Municipal Court of Prague. Hepnarová was held at Pankrak prison in Prague in the southeast of Prague. She accepted the sentence without emotion. However, her mother filed an appeal to the Supreme Court of the Czechoslovak Republic. While they did reclassify her crime from murder to a general threat, they upheld the verdict as well as the death sentence. The Prime Minister of Czechoslovakia, Lubomír Strugl, had to confirm the sentence to authorise the execution, but delayed it until 1975 due to the upcoming International Year of Women. In a desperate and final bid, Hepnarová's mother applied for a presidential pardon, but Prime Minister Struga, representing long-term President Ludvík Svoboda, rejected her plea on the 3rd of March 1975. Hepnarová informed journalists that she was not afraid of a death sentence and accepted it. On the 12th of March 1975, Hepnarová was taken from her cell to the gallows. Despite having been lackadaisical about her pending death, on the day of her execution she became hysterical and implored for her life, and lost control of her bodily functions as she was dragged screaming and kicking to the gallows. These actions affected the executioner so much that this was to be his last execution, and he was to quit. Placed on 32-inch square metal trapdoors with a simple noose placed around her neck, tied to an iron bar from the wall above her, she was dropped a few inches and strangled to death, having been executed by short drop hanging. At 23 years of age, she was the last woman to be executed in Czechoslovakia. The street where she committed her atrocities has now been named after Milada Horáková, a Czech politician and member of the underground resistance movement who was executed on the 27th of June 1950 for conspiracy and treason charges against the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia. In 2001, the book Obcházka za 8 mrtvých, also known as Czech, Olga Hepnarová, was written by Roman Silik, describing Hepnarová's life as well as her attack. The Czech-Polish drama film I, Olga Hepnarová was released in 2016, telling Hepnarová's life. The film starred Polish actress and writer Michalina Osanska as Hepnarová. Shown at the Panorama section of the 66th Berlin International Film Festival, the movie gained reasonably good reviews with a 78% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Additionally, numerous plays and songs by rock bands in the Czech Republic have been made about Hepnarová. Czech killer Viktor Kalivoda confessed in letters from prison in 2005 that he was inspired by Hepnarová. By the way, we will be looking at the case of Viktor Kalivoda in a future video, so if you want to find out more about that case, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of when that video will come out. So maybe, through her actions, as she predicted, Hepnarová would live on rather than just being a victim of suicide, both into a new country, a new century, and a world completely different from the communist world in which she had lived. Thank you for watching. Please do yourself a favour and hit that like and subscribe button and the bell icon to inform you when new videos come out. It helps more than you know and your support is truly appreciated. You'll also be seeing 2 other videos for you to check out. Until next time, stay awesome, stay classy, be kind to everyone you meet, and have an amazing day.